and recovery cards. And if you'll notice, I set up the cards with an image of a wolf. The wolf is a pack animal, and basically, as social human beings, we are as well. And it's a good reminder to us that we need each other and that we function best when we have support of one another. So, what I've done with the cards is I'm looking at a program here that I designed to help people recover from trauma and to exercise choice and to also recover from any substance uses that might also be involved as part of their trauma process. And so I took the 12 steps and I rewrote them specifically to trauma. And I updated some of the verbiage to make it more modernized. And so, just to give you an idea, I'll read this first one for you here. We recognize that the pleasure reward system is triggered when we use substances. We run the risk of life becoming unmanageable when we use. And within the cards, there's information about various areas of the brain that are involved in trauma. So it'll explain to you a little bit about what is the pleasure reward system and how that functions as a part of trauma and is affected by trauma. And so what I have here is like the 12 steps. But then in the next part of the card deck, there's also information, like I said, that will teach you about brain function. And so you'll learn about the pleasure reward system, that it's basically a group of neural structures that respond to any kind of incentive that is there to address craving, and it's associated with learning. And so we learn to feel emotions that trigger us to feel joy or ecstasy or any kind of euphoria. And sometimes that can come distorted, and we can trigger that to feel pleasure in response to substances that are really unhealthy for us. So we have to retrain the brain. So that's part of the purpose of this card deck, is to help us learn to retrain the brain. So there's a lot of information in here about how your brain functions, and to be talking about character traits and strengths, because we want to focus on developing those strengths so that we can rewire the brain. Also talk some about emotional management and development of choice. And so, when we struggle with substance use or people struggle with trauma, sometimes they forget how to make a healthy choice. And so they need to redevelop those skills as well. There's information in the card deck about issues related to abandonment and how to heal abandonment. And most importantly, there's a lot of information that focuses on developing resilience. And so just give you some simple information here about resilience. There's a 4-step process that we need to develop the social skills in order to become more resilient. And we need to learn to gather social support and engage in respite from the stress and allow your brain time to heal. So lots of information here about resiliency and how to do that, and some information about social and emotional intelligence and the attributions or thoughts that we have about our specific trauma and how that might be keeping that trauma cycle going. So the next part of the program is a 30-day approach to healing your brain. And alongside that, I encourage people to keep a gratitude journal. And what I mean by that is simply every evening for about 5 minutes, you document things that you're grateful for that happened that day. The research supports in doing this within 30 to 60 days, your brain will start to feel better and you'll experience less symptoms of depression and anxiety. And so there's 30 days here of different exercises of things that you can do to focus on to heal your brain. And I'm not saying that you only do this one time and that your brain is all healed. I think, that you can repeat this program several times, and a little bit at a time, you'll learn more about your response to trauma and about your brain and how you function and how to take better care of yourself. So this is an example on day 22. How are you doing with self-acceptance? And focus on separating feelings of shame from what might have become a shameful identity. Understand that there's a difference between making a mistake and being a mistake. Begin on working on forgiveness and loving yourself. That's a big one and an important step. And so, I think it would be important to repeat the program several times in order to really overcome that obstacle. So that's another part of the card deck. The other thing that is included in the card deck is the inventory, a 12-step inventory. And again, it borrows from the 12-step approach that is so well known in the world of recovery. And what I've done here, as I said, is I've rewritten it specific to trauma and modernized the language. The other thing that is very important that's included in this deck is there is an online assessment, a wellness assessment. And the card here will give you access to that link where you can go in and take the assessment. And when you're done, you'll receive a report on your results and a little bit of information about yourself in regards to where you're doing in respect to wellness, where you're at in respect to wellness. And so you can take this assessment several times, and you'll get a report every time, so you can continually check on yourself and see how you're progressing. So I hope this will be helpful to you. If you're interested in these cards, they can be purchased simply by going to www.coachingchoicecollege.info and clicking on the card deck page, the choice card decks. Will bring you right into that. And there's several different card decks that I've created, but this one is Trauma Choice and Recovery. And so when you click on that little thumbnail link, it will bring you to a site called MakePlayingCards.com. And I have a specific store there for Choice Studios, and it'll bring you right to that where you'll be able to purchase the card deck. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope that was helpful and that you'll start using the card decks to begin your healing process. Bye-bye now.